So my name's Todd Hale. I'm a part-time instructor here at MTECH. A little bit about MTECH because we need to get the word out. But they've got so many good trade programs here, and I want to emphasize the value for a high school student, but not diminish the fact that anyone can come and go here. They have one-year programs that'll get you a CNA, or dental assistant, or we were looking around right here. We got all the automotive stuff. My son went through the automotive program. My grandson just finished the welding program in this building. My daughter went through cosmetology down in Spanish Fork. That's long before I got involved with the tech program here and programming courses. But yeah, just get the word.
What technical things do they have? Like, there's a web. Is it a full stack?
Yeah, full stack web course that hits, starts with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, and then goes into React. It does some back end, some little bit of database, and then throws Angular in there too. Everything is based on feedback from a committee that based on the needs in Utah. Totally driven by the demands in Utah. So Angular used to be the main focus, and then React passed it up and took off. And it's a higher demand skill now. So they spend more time on React than Angular, but they do a full I don't know if it's 6 to 8 weeks on Angular. And so it's an 8-month course, and then internship is required, paid or unpaid, as part of the program, and that includes feedback from the employer to help them transition into a working role. But yeah, great program. Get the word out. Look at the list sometime. Go to mtech.edu, and there's no H because that was already taken. So they're mtech.edu, and take a look at all the programs. They got so many, and they start several times a year, like the web. Well, you were talking about. Okay, finish answering your question. The tech programs. There's full stack, and then there's a graphics design course, marketing communications, and then there's an Apple iOS programming course, and they welcome. You here for the Ionic, Utah?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Yeah, you're fine. We're just starting introductions. We're going to go around, so get ready to introduce yourself. But we did run out of dinners. I took stock twice today, and there were 6 and 8 RSVPs. I bought 8 dinners, and yeah, we're running out. But yeah, so a lot of programs here. There's a couple more in tech. They used to have a 3D printing. They have robotics. They got welding. They got fabrication. Oh, seems like there is a TIA prep class. Yeah, general IT. I can't remember what it's called or anything. But look at what they've got. Because yeah, they're letting us use this great facility. And that's me. I mentioned a couple of projects I'm working on. So in addition to introductions, kind of tell what you're working on and mini stand-up. At work, I'm doing an internal database admin tool and trying to get it all converted from an old Clarion Oracle Windows Builder tool. And then once that's done, I'll probably move to another customer-facing product. I'm at Verisk Exactware, just a mile east here. Been there since 2000. Long time. Career man. But anyways, that's me, and we'll go to Ben. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Ben Callahan. I'm a team lead at Energy. We're a financial technologies company here in Lehigh. Haven't been doing too much coding at home lately, but I did think it would be fun to try and build my own firewall. So I set up a pfSense box in my closet. That took a lot of effort, and I'm not sure it's any better than what I had before, but it was fun.
Wow. That's great. All right, Trey.
My name is Trey. I'm a front-end developer, and recently I've been looking for a job, but I'm now helping out Corey a little bit for some work and getting into Svelte recently. And a transition over from React, and I'm liking it a lot. I've been working kind of on some open source plugins for a few different softwares.
Yeah, great.
My name's Mike Pheasant. It's been a long time since I've coded, but so around 2000, I was working in the software industry down in the Portland area, a company called PowerQuest.
Yeah.
So most of the people there were like WordPerfect, Novell, Corel. And then I left this area. I went to Silicon Valley. I worked at a company called MTECH. We made CD burning software mostly, and software to allow SCSI card peripherals to talk to computers.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
And then from Silicon Valley, I moved to Austin. I worked at an HR software company in Austin. So languages that I've worked in mostly originally were C++ and C# and .NET.
Yeah.
And most of my projects more recently have been like Node.js, but and everything in between.
Yeah. My
most recent work has been either as an engineering team manager or a project or program product manager. In I teach Scaled Agile framework.
Yeah.
So I'm an SPC, which means I can teach all the classes, but I also usually go in and model the method for people. So I'll go in and be a really trained engineer because they don't know what that is. Anyway, so I'm all the lean agile things. I'm just trying to ask around really trained engineer. And the thing that I'm really passionate about lately is maybe starting my own company to prove that some of these things work. And so I've got some ideas for several different apps.
Yeah.
And I did a kind of like a Shark Tank kind of competition in Japan at a company called Rakuten, and I won with the app that an app that me and a team of 6 other people built together. And I'm hoping to do something like that, but as my own company here.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Sounds ambitious, and that's awesome. Yeah. All right.
My name is Stephen Bowden. Now, last week I started a new job.
Yeah. All right.
So, and I had no professional experience with Angular beforehand before I started the job. So I'm still trying to like jump that first and
Who's it with?
So down in Orem.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. It's called a speed pop-up. CapacitorJS.
Yeah.
Be great to tell you more about.
It's cool. It's good to hear that. Good to hear that. Hire an Ionic in the area. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
So
Yeah.
How long you been in that job?
So I started last Monday.
Oh, yeah. Recent.
Yeah.
So brand new.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Alfie.
Yes, I started to work for they basically did a lot of them for a lot of things like partnerships
Yeah.
and services and support.
Yeah.
And so this generally using Python and C++. I appreciate the Python aspect. I'm not really sure what C++, but
Yeah.
it also includes a lot of security guidance and things like that. So it's,
Yeah.
So I know that as well.
Yeah.
And on a very personal thing, a couple months ago, I was thinking about this, on what came out. And so I decided that it'd be interesting to learn more about it and see what I might be possibly able to try to analyze for that. And I ended up reading a book called The Green Machine,
Yeah.
which described
not just, well, actually, the other interesting part, it was only a single chapter. But I went from the history of, well, it started off with how computers came into existence. And then when I talked about the research that led up to Xerox PARC, and how it ended up, how it ended up spreading out into the industry and trading and the internet as we know it, or as we know it now. And I thought it's really good.
Huh.
Fascinating history. And one of the conclusions I came away from that is that it's pretty much impossible to recreate what data is. Both because of smart people, but also because of things, including things like World War II and War and a willingness to fund experimental things and all coming together on the version of
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
it's basically this very interesting social treatment. Probably not going to happen. Instead of our own situation where we have the potential to do our as much potential to do our own things in that environment that that's needed and existed for them.
Mhm. See the needs and see with the trends and try to maximize the,
What was the book called again? The Dream Machine.
yeah.
I think it's like Mitchell Walbrook.
But it's a biography of JCR.
Yeah, look at her.
Yeah. Okay.
That sounds cool. Yeah, I wrote it down too. I gotta take a look at that. Sounds great. All right. And then you gotta introduce yourself. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Brett.
My name's Brett Palmer. I have an Ionic app that I work on from time to time. It's a business app, integrates with the CRM, and currently working to integrate with QuickBooks. But I mostly, my day job is I'm an independent software consultant. I contract with the state of Utah, so I do a lot of DevOps stuff. What organized for DevOps days and the DevOps meetup group. So I do a lot of AWS, Terraform, so.
Yeah.
But really I like being good. It's just fun to be here. I'm also a vendor with the state, so if people are looking for contract positions with the state, talk to me about that.
Yeah.
And I remember PowerPoint.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Partition Magic.
Oh yeah.
that was
Absolutely. I was at Novell.
It was the best one, and then they got acquired. I don't remember who the intermediate person, but I think Norton eventually acquired.
Yeah. Yeah, and Semantic. Yeah.
But I had all of their, it was the cool stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
Drive Image, but
Yep.
Ghost.
Yep.
I think whoever eventually got them had Ghost and just they shelved both Partition Magic and
Yeah.
Microsoft put Partition Magic into bundled it with one of their services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were the coolest tools.
Oh yeah. I remember like yesterday, just using that we both worked at Novell and in the labs and managing a lot of PCs and partitions and images
Most
and
people don't appreciate it, but
yeah.
when you buy your hard disk and you partition it, if you got like a big disk, which back then would be like
Yeah.
56 gigs or something like that.
Yeah.
Really big.
Megabytes.
And then you'd have to partition it if you really want to use it efficiently, because you made one volume on it, you know, so you break it up into small partitions. And that was always dangerous,
Hmm.
and especially if you adjust it. Partition Magic would let
Yeah.
you adjust it.
All transparent.
So it was cool stuff.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Corey, you want to share?
Do I share my screen? access that post install. So that kind of leads me to my next one is like, why would you want to do this? So
You've got audio now.
I do have audio.
I had to add you to the stage.
I'm going to skip around. I'm going to skip around to this one. So why would you want to do deep links? Usually it's for something like if you're trying to continue off from where you were in the website. If you've ever you guys use Reddit before, if you ever access Reddit on a Safari app, it'll prompt you and say, oh, do you want to continue
YouTube.
accessing this? Oh, YouTube does the
Open
same
it.
thing, open in the app. Reddit's more like specific because it doesn't show you the app banner. It actually just shows you continue. You have to like choose continue here in Safari or open the native app. And a lot of times, I don't think YouTube prompts you with that, but it does have the banner, and that's kind of an iOS pattern. You can also open like any kind of web content. So if you want to access like a blog post in the native app, that's not on the web, or maybe it's in both places, you can kind of hijack that and let them live in the native app space. It's helpful for marketing pages or like promos. So if you wanted to bring somebody into the native app to a specific URL or a specific route that will give them access to special pricing or give them access to certain content that maybe isn't somewhere you can navigate from within the app, that's a use case. If you're trying to open links from an email, so for one goal, we'll send out notifications if they have them turned on. Like if I have 10 transactions I haven't like recognized or classified, I can get notified that I need to basically catch up on my finances. And then from in that email, we have a link that says, take me to one goal. And for us, our paths actually include like their budget ID. So if I have like a business budget and a personal budget, the email can actually direct me to the correct budget based on what the notification is. Note that I have here is that if you're trying to do this from a MailChimp or any emailer, you'll want to pull off their tracking, because if your tracking URL redirects you to your website, it won't actually be open in the app. It'll take you to the website instead of opening it directly in the app. So there's still ways around that, like I'll show you in our little demo here, but you'll want to pull that tracking off just because you want them in the perfect world, they click it and it goes straight into the app. Another use case is if you want to like share a web URL and also be able to open it in the app. So we'll do that if I'm a user and I'm trying to invite somebody to join my spending plan. It's like when I invited my wife to join the spending plan, it's a URL that she can access on the web, or if she clicks it, it'll open it up in the native app and she can claim her access and join the team at that time. So really anything you do on the web, you can do it in the native app if you use these deep links. And I guess I probably should have followed my outline, but I've got some kind of pictures of like what this actually looks like. We read that already. Yeah, we read that already. So here's kind of a little outline of what it looks like. If someone clicks a link and they have the app installed, then it goes directly there. That's just a universal link, or as Android calls it, an app link. It's really quick and seamless. In fact, I could link my phone. If not, I'll just show you what it looks like. So if I click on like this link here is just an app.sworkit. So where I used to work, if I click on it, it'll take me directly into, if I don't click edit, it'll just open right up into the native app without ever having to even hit the browser. So the platform already recognizes this URL can open this native app and doesn't even have to do any redirecting. It just hijacks it right away. So it's perfect for app already installed. However, if you don't have the app installed, that URL, depending on how you built your website, could end up in a dead page, or it doesn't go anywhere if you don't actually have something hosted. But ideally, you have it somewhere that it takes them, they can take action on it. So it's either, if you're building an Ionic, host it on the web so that they're accessing the same content on the web, and then you can prompt them to download the app if you want them to, or at least give them a good experience on the web so they can stay there. And then you redirect to their app content. Did I explain that clearly? Does anyone have questions about that? Another example is like Facebook or Instagram. If you click on this link inside the Facebook mobile app, it will go through, and I'll show you exactly with this code that you actually have to have, but again, because you have the app installed, it'll recognize based on this Apple app site association or this asset links.json file, it'll try to direct you to the App Store, or if you don't have the apps installed, it can take you somewhere else if you've built this out. We just went through why you'd want to use these. So in Capacitor, there's some really good documentation for how to do this, and they go through deep demos of exactly how to set up everything from the native side and the website. So I'm kind of going to do a more of an overview, but if you want very specifics, they have a great outline here. And then here's a little video of what this looks like. I'm just going to go full screen on this guy. If I click on a link inside of and this is actually a link inside of an email, right? It's going to take me directly to tab 1. However, this one has tabs 3, and it can also route to tab 3 if you click on that link. So let's go back full pre. There we go. So for deep links in Capacitor, the first step, did I go back? Yeah, so first you need to add this Apple app site association. I say this is the first step, even though in the Ionic tutorials it has it further down. Do this first because you can't actually test them until this is hosted. So once you have this well-known /assetlinks.json or .well-known Apple app site association files like saved and hosted in your web domain, then you can actually like test it and it will open up in your native app. And so there are tools that will let you like verify that Apple can scrape it and find the file. And the reason they do this is because it helps like protect your app. You don't want just random people sending people to your app from their websites. So this proves that you own the domain and you want the traffic from that domain being directed to your web app, or sorry, to your native app. And then this is right here is a wildcard for paths. And so it's basically saying any path that comes through this domain, wherever this is hosted. For us, we have it at app.onegofinance.com. And we do actually have an asterisk. So any path on the web domain can be routed to our native app. That's like a philosophy I believe in, is like there should be feature parity across platforms. But if there are, for some reason, you want only certain routes to be routed into the native app, or maybe the native app doesn't have support for the whole blog section, you can like set up wildcards so that it excludes blog, or it excludes certain sections, or only includes certain domains or certain paths of the domain. And then same thing for the Android side. So you have a different file for Android to like validate that you own the domain. It is a little more technical. You have to have this SHA-256 fingerprint, and this is very well outlined on the Ionic blog of how to set that up. And then you'll have your package name, which actually typically matches your app ID. So once those two files are hosted, or if you're just trying this on Apple, get that up on your domain, and then you can verify it through Apple's little verifier or Google's verifier. Then you can actually test it. So then we'll go into the Capacitor code. So there's really just one plugin you need, and it's the app plugin. And you'll use this add listener of app URL open. And with that event, it'll include the URL. And so it'll include the whole URL. So if I'm going to app.onegofinance.com, or for us, we also have beta.app.onegofinance.com. We'll actually do something very similar. We don't split on .app. We split on like onegofinance.com. And then I'll get the path after it. So I'll say, give me all the path. And then whatever your router is, this I think is a Vue example. For me, we use Stencil.js. So we just push the path or push the route onto an Ion Nav component. And so we take the path, we push it into the route. And then usually I'll show like a little loading spinner too, just to indicate, yes, we got the route. We're now routing you, and we'll take you there. So this part's pretty simple. You're really just registering your domain with claiming that access, forwarding any kind of traffic you want into your native app. When it becomes a little more difficult is when you want to have a deferred deep link. So remember that flow that we showed before. A deferred deep link is when they click the link and the app is not installed, we want them to be prompted to install. And then once they launch the app, we want them to go to the right app content. So
I've never had an app take me
to the right
I've always
content.
had to go back. After I install it, I've always had to go back.
Yeah,
You
we've
know,
probably
re-click,
all had issues like
because
this,
they're
right?
just deep linking, not deferred deep linking.
And it's interesting that even like Branch IO, they do some really weird stuff to like figure out who you are. So like if you click a link through Branch's deep deferred link, they're matching IP addresses, devices, time, location, all that they can, so that when you do download the app and launch it, they can like pair this session to this session and then route you correctly. So it's a lot of black box magic that they're trying to do to get around kind of privacy stuff while also invading your
She said, like,
privacy.
even the auth, the web auth token to an app auth. They even do that part for you.
I don't know. I doubt they. I don't know.
Uh,
That doesn't sound. I wouldn't want to do that, but maybe they do.
okay.
But once you install the app, then like you said, you could click the link and handle that there. But what we built so far doesn't handle that, right? So the whole demo so far, if someone clicks this link and the app is not installed, we'll still just go to your PWA that you have hosted. Assuming you built with Capacitor and Ionic, it's hosted on your website, on your web domain, and it's just going to go to that URL. So that's what we want to do next, is actually defer this deep link.
So it gives the user an option to install the app or go to the
Yeah, so it's up to you to kind of build that experience. So that's what I like to do. I like to say, hey, do you want to stay here in the web? So here's actually what I did is it's a little prompt that says, do you want to stay here in the browser, or do you want to open this on the App Store, right? And there's some cool things you can do here to make sure that this doesn't show up for everybody, like if they don't have the option. But giving them the option to stay there if they don't want to go download the app is also totally valid, right? Sometimes we just want to check out the app on the web first. So what I do is we'll prompt the user to install the native app. We'll copy this URL that they're currently at. So maybe it includes some auth stuff. I probably wouldn't recommend copying auth tokens to your URL, but you could copy other metadata, and maybe it's just some ID that you can then, once they do install it, hit your database to get further data. But poor man's version, Corey's version, is we're just going to copy the current URL that maybe it just includes their group ID or something. And then once they do launch, on first launch only, do we ask for like clipboard permission to paste that URL, which a lot of things like Branch IO still do things like this. If you've used Google Maps, a lot of times every time you open the Google Maps app, it'll say, hey, allow paste. We noticed you paste recently. You want to get like an address in here or something. So it's a somewhat common paradigm I thought would be helpful here. And then I also in fact, here's the flow. So if they go to the URL, let's say they got an invite from someone, or they're just looking up OneGo for the first time, or they went from our website here, they could still continue on here, or they can open in the App Store, and on an Android device, it'll actually say open on the Play Store. And then I could prompt them with this, remember to allow paste after you install the app. Probably needs a little bit more text descriptor so that they're a little more inclined to do so. But then hitting open will take them to the native app store and have them download the app. And then accessing the native plugin for paste will automatically prompt this, allow paste or don't allow paste, because it is a privacy feature, right?
That comes from Apple, not from...
Correct. Yeah, Apple's going to do that. So you can't get rid of that allow paste option. So what I do is I just do this on first launch only, so that we don't annoy anybody that's returning or coming back. Because if they do have the app installed and we know it's not their first launch, clicking any link like we saw in the first 10 slides, it's just going to open it directly in that native app. So here's a little function that does this. If it's not the native platform, then it's on the web. We don't care. So we're just gonna escape the rest of the function there. I use the storage plugin, Capacitor storage plugin, to just store like if this is their first launch or not. And if it is their first launch, then we'll continue. If it's not, we don't care. We're not going to try to access the keyboard. And then here's the Capacitor clipboard plugin, which is just clipboard.read, and it'll get res.value will just be a string. And so if you are doing some kind of JSON copy, you'll want to JSON parse that. But for me, it's just a URL. And then our deep leak in app method is going to like parse that out, kind of like I showed in that other step, where I just get the path, the end path, and then route to that path. Okay, so here's where I copied this design from. I think my button, even as I was preparing this, I was like, you know what, I think my buttons need to be a little bigger, so it looks more clickable. But yeah, showing this prompt is helpful to let users know there is a native app, or they can stay on the web. And so in Ionic, I use an Ion modal. We detect the operating system is actually on the web. So if it's iOS or Android, we know that they actually have an iOS or Android device, whether it's a phone or an iPad or a tablet, it will say iOS or Android. If it's on like a browser, so I was verified that like, okay, if I'm on desktop in my Chrome, even though I'm on a Mac device, I want to make sure it doesn't prompt me to download the native app. And on those devices, it'll say Mac or it'll say Windows. And so, you know, there's no native app store to download from. And so that's just using, actually, I think I have code here in a second. So we're basically going to copy that current web URL and then open the App Store URL. So we're going to copy the current URL, open the App Store URL, and then when they go into the App Store, we're going to, or go back to the app, we paste and route. So here's kind of an Ionic way of doing this. I stripped out any framework specific. This is just that kind of the config for an alert. So if it's React, your config is usually in line with your component. If it's vanilla JavaScript, it's like this, and then you create an alert. But here's clipboard write. So we can write to the clipboard without like Apple annoying us and saying, granting us permission. Just reading from it is a privacy setting. And then for the header, we say like, okay, open this, just like we have here, open this on the App Store, on the iOS App Store, open this in Google Play. And then we can put a message in there. And then again, depending on which store it is, iOS or Android, we'll go to the App Store URL or the Google Play Store URL, and we'll open that URL. So copy it, open the URL. Any questions about that? Kind of flying through this. So that's kind of a recap. So really you can add dynamic links pretty easily with a Capacitor plugin. You can use them to share links from the web to Android and iOS. You can use them for marketing purposes. You can use them for just helping your users navigate post-install. Or even if you don't want to do the deep deferred link, just accessing content directly in the native app. In fact, I just messaged a customer in our support who was like trying to get to a specific screen because he got stuck on our onboarding flow. So I just sent him a link. Okay, go to this link, and he's able to just click it and get out of this dead screen that doesn't. Basically, I got him stuck on onboarding. He got out of onboarding by this deep link that I sent him. And yeah, so hopefully you can all build an in-app prompt and use deep deferred links now with some of these demos. Any questions?
It's cool.
Yeah, it seems
There you
really
go.
cool. It seems powerful. Like I can already think of a few places.
I'm always
Well-
annoyed when it doesn't work, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because like, hey, I want the native app. Hey, how come it's not coming up?
Well, and there's whole companies that built around like just that deep deferred links. Like I said, Branch.io is a big one, and I started down their path, and it's a really complex product that's built primarily for marketing professionals. And I'm like, all I need to do is like copy URL and paste it. So this is a very simple solution that costs $0 to get 90% of what you need.
I think it's also a powerful tool to pull in new users into your ecosystem.
Mhm.
Say I don't say so in your instance, you've created this budget, like you want to share with your wife.
Yep.
Or maybe you want to set up a sample budget or something that you could share with another family member or a friend, and they're not 100% sure, and they're not bought in, and they don't want to pay,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to. Maybe their security, like, they're
Mhm.
averse to installing a new app. If I can send them to a web app and they're willing to start using it and get them in the ecosystem, and get them
Yep.
to start using it, it's a pathway to get them to where they're using the app.
Yeah, totally. I think that's 100% right. Like that's one of the reasons I love Ionic is because you build for iOS, Android, and web all with the same code base, hopefully all with the same features, right? You're not feature flagging things. And so I was actually talking to my cousin the other day who's an iOS developer, and he was in beta about to go live, or maybe he's releasing a new beta, but in iOS, you have to like set up all of your deep links because they don't really have a routing structure like the web does. You have to basically code out all the views that need to be navigated to from the web. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, in Capacitor, I can do that in 6 lines of code, right? And all my URLs match my web URLs, and I don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to
Yeah.
map. You just
I don't have to map at all.
take URL.
Take URL, paste URL.
Make it convert out.
He's used it before. He just loves the native stuff. Yeah. So not yet. But I too am open for consulting opportunities. One goal is doing okay, but family needs more money, so we're looking for other part-time or full-time gigs to build new mobile apps. Yeah.
Someone, and you're talking about starting something up
I
new.
want to start several
He's-
companies.
he's-
and I've got several apps in mind.
Yeah.
This, like, one of them is the one that I was talking about that I came up with in
Mhm.
Tokyo. Like, the timing really wasn't right for the US before, but I think technology is finally catching up to my idea. And one of the requirements right out of the box with every one of my ideas is it has to be elegant and work quickly. Like, as soon as we think of a new feature or a new capability or a new app, it has to out of the box be iOS, Android, and web, and look and feel the same in all 3 places.
Yeah.
And I have to let people go to the web if they want to, versus
The native platform. Yeah.
the native app.
Mhm.
But I want the native app to have all the same functionality and bells and whistles and have the same kind of elegant user experience that the web app would have as well.
You want to tell them about
There you go.
the live updates that app flow.
Yeah.
offers?
So one of the things that Ionic, Ionic Capacitor, Ionic Framework, they're all open source tools that you can download and build, like no payment necessary. They do have enterprise features, like app flow is one of their primary ones.
Yeah.
You're familiar with that one already?
No, but I'm not.
Okay. Yeah. So app flow, basically, because 90% of your code you're writing, or 95% of the code you're writing, is all web-based, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. App flow will allow you to deploy that code, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, without having to go through the App Store review. So you can get it approved through the App Store, and then if you have to have bug fixes, you can ship those live at any time. So we've used it at previous places to actually set up like alpha, beta, and production channels even, so that if we wanted to ship stuff just to our beta customers that are opted into beta, they can see those updates without having to go through a test flight build. The only times you do have to go to the App Store is if you're making native level code changes. So
Change permissions.
if you're changing permissions, if you're adding a plugin,
Yeah.
if you update Capacitor, you'll probably have to do it as well, because you want to make sure that all the native code is in line with the web code. But they have all the versioning, the stuff that you need to do that
Yeah,
in App Flow.
without that app flow live code push,
Mhm.
you can still get it pretty fast, but you Android, what is it, still same day, you get approved, and
Android's actually slower than Apple.
is it Apple?
Yes.
Is it slower now?
Yes.
Okay.
So they now, you
there's
submit
days.
to Android where it actually goes into an App Store process,
Mhm.
and you can turn on or off like auto deploy once they approve it. But yeah, Android's taken longer than iOS is for me lately.
I know they added the whole testing,
Mhm.
20 testers type
Mhm.
of thing. You have to have
Doesn't
20
Apple
testers
bypass
registered.
all of it? Isn't that their marketing thing? Is that you could
Yeah.
kind
So
of bypass?
as
some
long
of
as you're
the
just
silver
changing
stuff?
like HTML,
Yeah.
CSS, JavaScript, right? If you're changing native layer code, you need to go
But
through the App
can't you
Store.
also implement it on your own? Because I've done that as well, where the app knows it's changed and it will just refresh the app. Same kind of thing.
Probably could. It's
Yeah.
past my pay grade, but
Yeah. Yeah, I did it with Microsoft Code Push about
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I figured it out, but
because you'll want to be able to
That
take
went
all
away.
those files and store them and then reload Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
the manage. Yeah,
managed versions. Yeah.
Yeah, versions.
But I'm a huge fan of Ionic because I always love shipping web first, all the way till beta and even into prod until you have at least a few users that you're like, okay, now let's ship the native app. And since we've already built on Capacitor, the native apps are harder to just get the App Store listing than it is to add the support for it.
Yeah, and PWAs, is everyone here familiar with progressive web apps, PWAs? You got those? Yeah. Yeah, so that's great on the web to give it an app, give you a full screen app-like experience.
I was showing this actually to a trader the other day. On Apple, I believe it's M1 and M2s, you can actually install iOS apps like on your Mac, which is super cool. And because I've designed this to be responsive, right? I now have a native Mac app that's really just shipped from the App Store, and they're pulling it. I'm assuming just from App Store, code file, whatever it is, was an IP4 or IPA, or I can't remember what it's called.
I tried doing that one day, but like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Haven't